So we all set up, ready to go? Everybody on, fellas?
Yes, sir.
So we're at 6:30, and we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I want to thank everybody who was patient enough to put up with our technical difficulties last week and come back tonight. I know there's only a handful of you. I wish there was more, but I can understand if folks got frustrated last week. Anyway, I want to thank IT for working it out for this week. So we're going to discuss tonight the Revis Barracks Road and Green Park Road project in terms of replacing the bridge at Revis Barracks and relocating Green Park Road and the Graveway Trail. So Public Works is going to have a pretty detailed presentation for you. And at the end of that, we'll be happy to have you guys ask questions that we'll be happy to answer for you. So without further ado, I'm going to let Public Works take over and start their presentation.
All right. My name is Glenn Henninger. I am the Assistant Division Manager in Planning and Programming for the Department of Highways and Traffic. We have several other people here to answer questions and help with getting you to understand what we're proposing to do. Joe Colessa, he's the Acting Deputy Director for the Department for Transportation and Public Works, is the Division Manager for Project Development. Pam Tebow is the Assistant Division Manager in Engineering, so I'm kind of over planning and she's over engineering. She'll be taking over this project when we get a design consultant on board. Dan Howell is the Bridge Section Supervisor, so there's a lot of bridge component to this project, which he will oversee. And we have John Shrewsbury, our South Area Engineer. He will be moderating questions and keeping track of questions and shoot them to whichever one of us can best answer at the end. And he is also joined by Kevin with HDR Inc. He volunteered for this, and we're happy that he's available as well. If you would, since there's a few people on, we might just open up the mics, but if you would enter questions in the chat box, that would give John a chance to preview them and figure out who's the best person to answer. So you are here to talk about Revis Barracks and Green Park. This project it came on our radar probably around 2012. So this is an aerial of the area. Revis Barracks Road is the larger road it runs north-south in this picture. And then Green Park Road is running east-west in this picture. Grant's Trail is up in the upper left corner of the screen. And Graveway Creek is at the bottom of the screen. There are two bridges involved with this project over Graveway Creek, the Green Park Bridge and the Revis Barracks Bridge. And let me back up here. So in 2012, the Revis Barracks Bridge started to pop up on our radar as it was going to be needing replacement in the near future. Whenever there's a bridge needing replaced, we take a good hard look at everything in the area that could be impacted by that. One of the main things we noticed right away was this intersection that was so close to the bridge, something would have to be done with it. The intersection has a history. It has a pretty bad skew. Zoomed in, you can see we like intersections to cross at as close to a 90-degree angle as possible. And the skew due to the creek and other features when the roads were first built, it is what it is, and we've dealt with it for years. The tight turn coming off of Revis and making a right onto Green Park Road, there's a long history of guardrail there that just gets demolished. And then none of the legs of this signalized intersection have left turn lanes. Left turn lanes are very important to both safety as far as people getting rear-ended when they're making their left and somebody else is trying to go through, and just to signal function. Left turn lanes gives us a lot more options on how to time signals. So any new roads we build with signals definitely get left turn lanes, and any rebuilds we strive to get left turn lanes as much as possible. Let me back up here again. So knowing that we had the bridge and that the intersection was going to have to be dealt with, there's really only one option to deal with the skew, and that's if you want to leave all four legs at the intersection, you have to realign one or both roads with reverse curves and things that end up really expanding the footprint of the intersection and needing a lot of right-of-way. The other option is to take the minor road and split it to where it's no longer a four-legged intersection. When we do something like that, that's when we start looking at traffic impacts of, split that intersection. What does it do to traffic in the immediate area? What is it going to do to traffic within a few miles even? So we would blow out into a area more like the intersections right in the middle of the screen. We would check and see how people are getting to 55 and how people are getting to Lemay Ferry Road. Turns out that both Rivas Barracks and Green Park Road go to Lemay Ferry Road on the east, and they both go to Union Road on the west. So it's kind of an odd setup. Once we had an idea of the project was going to be a bridge replacement, an intersection that really didn't lend itself to a redesign, so it was going to be a major realignment of some sort. That is about the time we decided that during the planning phase of this project, we would need to get a consultant on board to run down all of the impacts, environmental, traffic impacts, different wetland and floodplain possible mitigations that would be included with different options. Our consultant chosen was HDR Inc., as I mentioned earlier. They did a fantastic job for us coming up with alternatives, and we landed on what you see on the screen now. So just basically, we are proposing to realign Green Park west of the current intersection and take it up the current trail corridor with a minor realignment of the trail to run parallel to Green Park for about 500 feet. That moves it as far from the floodplain and wetland as possible. The current Green Park Road is smack dab in the middle of the floodplain and near a lot of wetland, which are both very protected areas, and there's a lot of regulations when you propose construction. And then another bonus for that proposal would be that Green Park Road would no longer cross Grants Trail. I mentioned earlier they would just run parallel for 500 feet and then they would diverge apart. Green Park Road heads to the west. So there would be a new intersection signal that would control both trail and vehicular traffic. We would remove the current Green Park pavement within the floodplain, which is a big plus for the environment and should go towards any kind of mitigation we might have to do because we are still going to be working in the floodplain and adding a little bit. The main reason for this project, and we will still be fully replacing the Rivas Barracks Bridge, and we will remove the Park Bridge and provide a cul-de-sac turnaround, which is right at the top of the screen. That will lead that neighborhood to go in and out via Lime Ferry Road and come around. If they do want to get to Rivas Barracks Road, it's since they both roads go straight to Lime Ferry, it's a pretty quick access back to Rivas Barracks. So what this entire plan does for us, as far as Green Park goes, it'll cut down the through traffic in the neighborhood. It actually improves traffic levels of service on Rivas Barracks. The consultant had to double check everything and make sure, but it was even at the Lime Ferry intersection, there was an improved level of service shown where delays were not as great as they were before our proposal. And that has to do with some traffic engineering jargon that I won't get into. The proposal to remove the Green Park Bridge also saves the project approximately $1.5 to $1.75 million. And that one got in the wrong place. So that was one of several alternatives that were presented at a public hearing we had back in September of 2019. I'm sure some of you probably attended, but I just wanted to go through all of that real quick to give a history before we get into a question session. So that public involvement, we had plenty of information to approach the public. We knew going in that we would not be able to get 100% of the public support for any one proposal. You know, if there's a certain aspect of a project that somebody's happy with, somebody else may not be. What we really strive for is just trying to get a majority. And if we can find ways to possibly change projects to address concerns that were raised during that first public meeting, we will try. After the public meeting, we compiled all of the concerns, took another really good look at the project, and we applied for federal funding. We have a yearly, an annual program where we apply through East-West Gateway, and projects are awarded federal funds for up to 80% of the project. So we were awarded $6 million on this project, which should come in at around 8.5 million. That includes design, right-of-way acquisition, and actual construction. The design of the project should take place over the next year or two. Right-of-way acquisition to follow that, and construction to follow that. Nothing's really changed in the proposal since the last public meeting, but we are at a point in that schedule. Really should have been our planning process, but the design process, we will be getting another consultant on board for this design project. And we just wanted to reach out one more time before we start that process. What we do is we put out what's called a request for qualifications, and in that request for qualifications, we state what the project is going to build. It is very important to us that we get off to a good start with the consultant. It saves time during the whole process if we're both on the same page as far as what's happening, and we don't throw them any curveballs after we've started. So we are here talking to you, and we are ready for any questions you might have about our proposal. I will go back to that main page. It just shows the picture. Hopefully I didn't go too fast.
No, I think you did fine. Anyone have any questions?
Rob, I think we're okay to just open it up. There's not that many people on.
Yeah, so the chat box is still empty, but if someone just wanted
So I
to
take
talk,
it, doesn't sound like we have anyone that has any questions. I have a couple.
Okay.
Glenn, I think you mentioned that there's a savings of about 1.7 million with this project.
Up to, yeah, in that range.
Okay. And of that, how much of that savings is related to avoiding reconstructing the Green Park Road Bridge?
I can let Pam answer that.
yeah, for replacing the Green Park Bridge is in probably the 1.2 to 1.6, 1.7 million dollar range.
So
Anywhere
from, go
sorry,
ahead.
no, I was just
No,
that
go
that's
ahead.
pretty conceptual. We haven't gone too far down that rabbit hole, but that's the ballpark that we're looking at.
And then can you just briefly, for the folks, I know I've heard it, but if you could just briefly maybe describe the other options that were looked at.
Yeah, Glenn, do you have those?
I did not include
Give me
those.
1 second, I will bring them up.
All right.
No, you don't have to. I think if you could just describe them so that folks get an idea of what you considered and why this one is the preferred option.
So the options that were presented at the September 2019 public hearing were mainly to do with how to handle the traffic control at the new intersections. There was some more modern ideas as far as continuous left turn, or I don't remember the exact terminology. All of the alternatives presented at that public hearing, other than leaving both roads on the same alignment they're on, and pretty much not, it's called the no build scenario. All of them showed the Green Park Bridge going away and a cul-de-sac.
Okay. And then the last one I have is the 500 feet or so that Union and Grants Trail essentially are parallel.
Or Green Park, yes.
I'm sorry, yeah, Green Park. What are there any safety concerns in that regard?
It'll get pinned down in final design, but there is going to be a green space in between Green Park and the trail. It will not be right on top of the road. It will be at least as wide as GRG recommends, and wider if we can get it.
Okay.
And the design was coordinated with GRG as well. We have got their input, and they approved of the plan that we put forward.
Well, that's all the questions that I had. Are you sure anyone else care to weigh in? Ask these guys anything you need. They'll be happy to answer you. I'm not hearing anyone.
Did somebody raise their hand? I'm not sure what that.
Yeah, Lynn has her hand up.
Yeah.
Rob, you can unmute her, please.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question. Now I understand where it's at. There of a Green Park. Who was initially calling for the was it the Grants Trail or the Greenway? What initiated this whole thing and spending our money?
So
Need was driven by the need to replace the Revis Barracks Bridge. I think Glenn has.
And what is currently wrong with the bridge?
It's structurally deficient. It's got us.
What explain specifically what that means?
It's deteriorating. It's deficient in as far as the structural adequacy of the bridge. And it's just to give you a perspective, bridges are assigned a sufficiency rating. It's a percentage from 0 to 100. 100 is a perfect brand new bridge. And this bridge has a sufficiency rating in the upper 30s. So it's not in good condition and it needs to be replaced.
Was that the only, and I guess my question is too, is a lot of times because of my family also coming from construction. I have a question in regards to the what you're using as far as product, concrete and this, that, and the other. Is it going to be substandard? How long will this last? Are we going to have to turn around and do it, spend down the road? How long does that,
Typically, a
bridge
design
last?
life for a structure like this is in the 50 to 75-year range. We obviously design for as much longevity as we can. Not sure what else. Did that address your concern? I mean, as far
Well,
as material type, we will determine the best solution as we move into final design. Most likely, it will be a concrete structure.
so part of why this project grew beyond the bridge, like I was showing with the road realignment and things of that nature, was the intersection. With that intersection being so close to the bridge, we knew at least part of it would have to be rebuilt. And without doing the whole thing, whatever we rebuild would not last as long as we would like it to, because it would have to be modified in the future with an intersection project to get those left turn lanes and get rid of that skew and get rid of the problem of trucks hitting the guardrail all the time. So that is actually part of where we try and save money, is to do as many of the needed improvements in an area as we can with one project while we're there.
Right.
And that's a heavily traveled area there. I used to own a condo right there at Lime Ferry and Revis Barracks. So that's a heavily traveled area. With closing that, sounds like we're going to close that. What is the name of that goes through? I guess it is Green Park.
Yeah, that's Green Park is where we're removing the bridge. So all the traffic going to Lime Ferry will take Revis Barracks. And since our consultant did volunteer to join us, he might be able to talk to what the traffic impacts showed, but it was actually a surprising outcome.
Yeah, it was. We were
What does that?
expecting more traffic along Revis Barracks from shutting down Green Park. What happens at Lime Ferry right now is there's some empty green time. In other words, the light is not acting as efficiently as it should because there's not enough traffic getting to it for the green time. So what happens is, as we shift that traffic from Green Park onto Revis Barracks at the Lime intersection, we're filling some of that empty time that was available for those vehicles. So it's actually improving the efficiency of the signals. You're not seeing a reduction or an increase in your travel time through that intersection. We're using green time that's already available on there to handle additional cars from Green Park.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then I have another quick question that I'm a longtime resident here at Afton. I guess the reason why I was asking the questions is that I know a lot of the bridges in Missouri, do need to be replaced. But I look at this viaduct up here that has been over here, here in Afton off of Gravois and McKenzie. And it's been here since the 1940s or 50s when my dad was young, and so we have a lot of that that has now been chipped off because of the businesses, the trucks and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that in the works of that down the road?
Are you referring to the viaduct over the bridge that crosses over Gravois, near Gravois and McKenzie?
That is correct.
Okay,
yes.
I believe that bridge belongs to MoDOT, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you're right.
Glenn, is that your screen?
Are we talking about that one?
Can you,
Yeah.
Can't find your cursor, I'm sorry. Or is that a railroad viaduct? Or?
That's a rail bridge.
Yeah, that's a railroad bridge. Okay. I wasn't sure if there was a railroad on top or another. Yeah, so that would be the property of the railroad that runs across it.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, for a second, I thought she was talking about the one by our Higgy project.
I'd like to clarify too that while the bridge is definitely nearing its end of life, this is the right time to address it. Currently, it's not a safety risk. If we let it go too long, it could become one. But right now is the right time in its life cycle that we can safely plan for the replacement of that structure and provide the best service life. And hopefully we're hoping to provide a substantive improvement to the area as well with this project.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. I really appreciate the questions, answers.
No, you were just talking about the Green Park Bridge, right?
The Revis Barracks Bridge.
Barracks Bridge.
Okay.
That is the bridge structure that drove this project, that it's near the end of its service life, and we're addressing it at the right time in its service life to ensure safety for the public.
Yeah, I just meant the bridge right there. It's actually, the way I look at it, it's on Green Park. But in any case, right by that intersection. That's the one you're talking about.
The one just south of the intersection. The Green Park Bridge is a second bridge, which is just to the east of the intersection.
Okay, all right.
And just to clarify, that's the one that we're proposing to not replace then.
Right, yes, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking. That's the one, yeah, that's fine. And that's my question was, is that the one that Joe was discussing or the other one?
No, I believe
Okay.
Joe, I believe Lynn's question, I think it was, I apologize if I have the name. The one she was asking about was the Revis Barracks Bridge. And that's the
I
one
know.
we're
Yeah,
referring to.
okay.
Thank you.
And so let me ask you, Joe, since you brought it up on that bridge in Afton, isn't that whenever its useful life is done, the railroad's responsibility? I mean, they own the bridge, right?
Yeah, generally speaking, rail bridges are the responsibility of the railroad if they're supporting the railroad.
Right.
The roadway structure that would go over a railroad, that's the roadway jurisdiction's responsibility to replace it, but we have to get the railroad's permission through the whole process.
Right, but we're not talking about that here. This one,
No.
This bill is on the railroad.
That, yes, I can't imagine a scenario where it's anyone's responsibility other than the railroad.
I would agree.
That's what I thought. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the only reason I had said MoDOT initially is that I thought that there was a roadway on top. I didn't realize it was a rail bridge. So that was my mistake.
There is a little bit of a nuance here. The state of Missouri is responsible, or
Yes.
at least allowed to enforce safety for all railroads in the state of Missouri. So the state of Missouri's railroad team, and we work with them regularly, when there's a unsafe railroad condition, they have the leverage to encourage the railroad to take action on a dangerous situation that they may not be aware of.
Okay.
Thank you. Because I've been noticing lately that there's a lot of the concrete is, kind of falling and things like that because the businesses up there, there's landscaping and other things that continue now lately within the last year. They're really hitting the concrete of that viaduct. So that was, and I apologize, but that was why I was bringing that question up. I've noticed a lot of wear. This
Right. And Gravois Road is MoDOT's jurisdiction. So MoDOT has jurisdiction of the roadway there, and state of Missouri has some jurisdiction over the railroad to enforce safety.
Yes.
Ultimately, the railroad would pay to make improvements over the roadway, generally.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, there are turnarounds similar to our Big Bend project, so it could be a joint, depending on how it's built.
I see they're like ramps almost, aren't they?
Yeah.
Probably what I thought MoDOT initially. So yes, it is a bit of a jurisdictional hodgepodge.
Thank you. Thank
If
you.
we could go back to the Revis Barracks and Green Park intersection for a minute. Just have a question. If you go forward as planned and you'll create the cul-de-sac, number one, what's the plan for what's left of the bridge? Are you taking the bridge out completely and replacing it? What's going to happen with that? And then with respect to Green Park Road from the cul-de-sac on up to Lee Ferry, what's the plan, if any, with respect to improving that roadway?
The Green Park Bridge, the intent was to remove it entirely and cul-de-sac the Green Park Road so that residents can turn around. The interesting thing is it actually reduces the overall traffic that would be trying to make turns onto Lee Ferry.
Right.
We did not have any substantive plans for Green Park Road other than the cul-de-sac, which is shown at the top of the picture.
Okay.
Yeah, the red hashed area is just removal, and there would still be an access to this business.
And with respect to the removal, are there any plans included here that, for lack of a better way to put it, try to restore the, let me just say, the natural appearance of the green space there, or how would that play out? Because the creek runs right through there, right?
And
So I'm just curious.
one of the advantages of that bridge being removed is it does improve the hydraulics of the channel through that area a little bit. It's not a major improvement.
Right, it's nominal. Right.
We would be looking at natural solutions as we have wetlands to deal with. So we've got a number of wetland regulations for restoring wetlands back to wetlands. And that, to the greatest extent practicable, that would be the approach, other than areas where we have to do maybe slope stabilization or something to make sure that the banks stay where they're supposed to be. Until we get to final design, I can't say definitively, but the intent is to restore wetlands and improve it from an ecological standpoint.
That's all I was trying to find out, if that was included. Thank you.
Yeah, if you look at the drawing there, you can see the green hatched areas.
Yeah.
Those are areas where there'll be some overbank excavation that would basically restore that back to a more stable creek bank and open that bridge hydraulically up a little bit to help address the hydraulic issues.
Okay, great.
That will help the performance then at the bridge on Revis Barracks. So.
Oh, okay.
And then Glenn or Pam or whoever, if I understand it correctly, there'll be left turn lanes in both directions, or at least, I guess, both directions to get on Green Park Road south of Revis. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, the road is almost wide enough now with the shoulders it has. There's going to be very little right-of-way impact as far as that goes. But with the reconstruction, we will be striping a 5-lane road with a center 2-way left turn lane, so there'll be left turns everywhere.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody interested in asking?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for spending time on an evening to try and reach out to folks that maybe have an interest. And I certainly appreciate all the efforts across the board from Transportation and Public Works and IT for helping me make this happen. So if we have no more questions, unless Glenn, you or any of your folks have something to add, we can, I guess, end our meeting.
I do not. Joe?
No, we covered everything at the high level. We're definitely here to drill into details for anyone who's interested.
Did our website make it into the chat box?
There's nothing in
I
the chat
didn't
box
look.
yet that I'm seeing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
maybe one of you guys could give an address or something for people to put it in the chat box, maybe, or certainly at least we'll make it available on our Facebook and web page, as well as whatever you guys do, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we get, if we get any after this.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate and the community does as well. So we thank you very much.
Thank you
Oh,
for
you're
joining.
very welcome.
We appreciate it as well.
Thank you guys all very much for taking the time out of your otherwise probably peaceful evening. So
All right.
appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll stay in touch as this moves forward.
All right. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good evening.